Hello everyone. This video will be a bit unusual for you, as I haven't done this kind of format on my channel before. I found the most interesting and freshest theories about our beloved digital circus on Reddit, and would like to share them with you. I'll say right away that after the intro, I won't be using subtitles, as I don't want to add unnecessary distractions to the video. After watching, please let me know if I should continue posting such videos occasionally, and how interesting they are to you. Of course, if you enjoy it, I'll do my best to improve this format. Let's go! First, I'd like to mention I have depression and am medicated for it. I also know a few people who need to take medications for different mental illnesses, so I have some first-hand experience with medication and its side effects. So, when Gangle first puts on the new mask, she remarks that it feels normal. It is a feeling many people who start taking medications for their mental illness, such as depression or anxiety, feel. Suddenly, all the weight seems to alleviate, and everything just feels better. Normal. Later, we see Gangle full of energy and enthusiasm. I also experienced such highs before my body adapted to a certain dose. So I was feeling super productive and full of energy one day, and the next, I was feeling tired again. When we hear the crack, I think it represents things that genuinely affect Gangle. Medicine helps chemicals in your brain flow better, but it doesn't stop negative thoughts. But it does help Gangle to stay composed and not break down on the spot. However, bottling up those feelings leads to her later exhaustion. Gangle's cure for sadness does not work, but she keeps wearing the mask because she has to keep up, at least until the end of the day. She is already slipping up by the evening, responding to Zubul in a sad voice, being unsure if Pomni could close the restaurant. Her anxiety and worry come back. She also feels exhausted. Once she leaves the restaurant and discards the mask, she feels freed for a short moment, before putting herself in even more danger. This showcases what happens if a person decides to stop medicating by themselves. It can lead to their state worsening, causing them more harm. At the very end, Zubul talks about how the mask didn't work, but they will find a solution eventually. This could represent that one failure in the healing process does not mean nothing else will work. Gangle also smiles without comedy mask. Just like depressed people can be happy, it's just much harder. Gangle blames herself and says she doesn't deserve Zubul as a friend, but that does not deter Zubul, and she tries to engage Gangle, inviting her to sit with them. Zubul is a great, supportive friend. Sorry for rambling or any mistakes I made. Again, this is just my theory, the way I interpret this episode. Your interpretation can be completely different from mine, and that's okay. Write what you think about this theory. Personally, I'm inclined to trust it, as the author explained everything very thoroughly. Considering Gangle's mental state in previous episodes,
I feel like that violates some kind of convention. We saw Gloink carry one of Zubul's pieces down there, remember?
Oh, yeah. Thank you for the recap.
How is Kaufmo doing? I hope he's not still mad at me for not laughing at his jokes.
it's reasonable to assume that Gangle is in a state of depression, and through episode 4, Gooseworx may have intended to convey the feelings of people with this condition.
Is it broken? Or are we the broken ones?
Great.
How long has this shift really gone on for? 6 hours? 8? 24? A week? A year? Does time even move in here? Will we ever go home? Will we ever achieve our dreams?
While I doubt that Glitch will start abstracting their main cast anytime soon, I believe that the looming threat still exists somewhere in a future episode. And when it happens, I believe that Jax more than anyone else is the most likely candidate. But before discussing why, allow me to rule out the other characters first. Pomni, perhaps the most obvious candidate for abstraction given her status as the newest member of ADC and the vulnerable mental state that leaves her in. Plus, her being the main character wouldn't make it implausible either, since the episode could end with her miraculously returning to normal. However, not only would this be too predictable of a plot point, Pomni's role in the past couple of episodes actually seemed to suggest that she's already adjusting to her new life, and the fact that a possible exit had already been snuffed out in the pilot means that Pomni no longer has nothing to obsess over it like Kaufmo, and can now make peace with her situation much more easily. Zubul, easily the most normal character in the entire show aside from Pomni. I really don't see anything breaking Zubul. Aside from their general apathy toward Kane's adventures, they also clearly possess a strong sense of emotional intelligence regarding the other characters and understands their respective situations. In other words, she seems to have a firm grasp on the world around her, even if she isn't always active in it, and I doubt she would allow it to slip. Kinger. Naturally, even the people in the show itself predicted that Kinger would be the one to lose it, what with him being the oldest member of ADC and, consequently, showing clear signs of instability. However, like Zubul, I think he's actually one of the least likely candidates for abstraction, all thanks to episode 3. Despite everything Kinger has been through, from losing his wife to abstraction to going to literal hell and back with Pomni, it's pretty clear that his instability is only superficial. Even in the worst of situations, Kinger has proven himself to be a strong and clear-headed person who would never allow himself to snap if it means saving the only loved ones he has left. Gangle. Another possible candidate given her figuratively and literally fragile emotions. Gangle was already real close to going over the edge in her recent introspective episode. However, I think her private chat with Zubul at the end of that episode gave her a bit more security, so I don't think she'll be teased for another meltdown anytime soon. Ragatha. Perhaps the second most likely candidate for abstraction, Ragatha is obviously hiding a lot of grief and trauma behind her outgoing exterior. At the very least, they show is clearly setting her up for some big blowout episode that ends up driving a wedge between her and the other characters, particularly Pomni. With that said, she already technically had a brush with abstraction in the pilot episode, so it would be kind of cheap for that to happen again. And that finally leaves us with Jax, aka the character who seems to be the most in tune with his digital surroundings, and therefore the character we'd least expect to be abstracted. His brash personality and general lack of concern for the well-being of his fellow circus members are what allow him to cope with the chaotic and meaningless nature of his permanent life. And while I don't see any redemption arc in store for Jax, probably the worst thing that can happen to his character portrayal, IMO, I don't think he'll remain a one-note asshole for the entirety of the show. Rather, I believe one of two things can happen to him that would almost definitely lead him down the path of abstraction. 1. In some miraculous turnaround, Jax inadvertently finds himself caring for the people that he's abused throughout his entire time in the digital circus, which naturally ends up conflicting with his nihilistic creed within the circus. Being unable to resolve this contradiction, his inner conflict will evolve into an existential crisis, which Jax will only be able to recover from by, like two other clown-themed characters before him, trying to find an exit, and when this fails, Jax will succumb to abstraction. 2. This outcome is probably the reverse of number 1, but it involves Pomni and the gang finding out that there is, in fact, an exit after all, and the only one who isn't eager to find it is, you guessed it, Jax. In fact, either due to whatever hardships he might have suffered in life before entering the circus, perhaps even regarding the circus as his escape, or simply due to some fear of having no one left in the circus to fuck around with, Jax would become adamantly opposed to anyone escaping, even resorting to his usual violent force if necessary, and when this too fails, Jax abstracts. But again, this is all based on the slim possibility of Glitch putting anyone out for abstraction before the show's end. Thoughts? The author laid out this theory quite interestingly, but before I share my opinion, I'd like to know your take on it. As for me, I'm confident that this won't happen, and none of the main cast will be turned into an abstracted monster. I can easily see Ragatha experiencing cognitive dissonance in episode 5. Cognitive dissonance, in essence, is the psychological discomfort that arises when a person's beliefs, attitudes, or values clash with their actions. If Ragatha goes through this, I imagine it leading to her finally unleashing all her pent-up frustrations on everyone around her. It would be reminiscent of when she hallucinated and called Zubul a grouch, Gangle annoying, and outright told Jax she hated him. The difference this time, though, is that it's intentional. Even though she knows it feels wrong, she doesn't hold back and lets loose on everyone in her path. I think it would be hilarious if Jax enthusiastically jumped on board, treating her outburst like a bonding moment, as if they were partners in crime roasting everyone. That is, of course, until Ragatha directs her wrath at him, completely dismantling his ego. Ultimately, I'd hope this experience helps Ragatha find a balance, maintaining the lighthearted, positive relationships she values while also learning to acknowledge and honor her own feelings, instead of burying them. I'll leave this theory without my own comment, giving you complete freedom of thought. Share your opinion on this theory and let me know which of the 3 theories you liked the most. And please give feedback on this video format, as it's truly important to me. Wishing you all a great mood. See you later.